Snopes corrects the record, but not really. And Jake Tapper's Russiagate award. This is Propaganda Report. I'm Brad Binkley. I am testing another new microphone setup. So if you're hearing no audio at all right now, and I'm just silently moving my lips, then I guess I'll find that out later because it's early in the morning, so there's probably not going to be many live viewers. And that would be unfortunate. But we're going to be live streaming the debate tomorrow night and might be doing it in a different location where at least a couple of us, me and Josh, are in the same room together. And I'm testing portable microphone setup, and I want to make sure it works before we go somewhere and don't have a workable setup. So that's why I wanted to get this show in right now. And hopefully this audio is going through. Maybe there'll be somebody pop in the chat and let me know. Anyway, we will move forward. Nevertheless, there are events all over Georgia. Atlanta, the suburbs, is going to be crazy. They're shutting down the roads. There's going to be protesters. Protesters are already there. It's the same protesters that protest Cop City. There's going to be people standing over overpasses, holding signs up. It's going to be wild. I'm sure there'll be some feds there. These are big events for feds to do a little bit of agitating, maybe provoke somebody into doing something that will enable the FBI to entrap them. So good luck to the feds who are going to be all over Atlanta tomorrow. But what I want to do first is going to be a short show. I want to show you what CNN has been getting off on all day the past couple of days, which is their new mic muting technology. They have new technology specifically for this groundbreaking, innovative debate that they're putting on, at least the way that they portray it. And let me play that for you.
Are not illuminated lights.
All right, so this is this is a segment they did. This isn't just one segment, or they did this same segment all day long. The different shows from 6 a.m. till 11, they all did the same segment, just with a different person. They are showing the viewers what it's like behind the podiums on the debate stage and how it works. Here they are.
If we go behind the podiums, you can see two green lights. When they're on, they signal to the candidate his microphone is on. When the green lights are off, they signal to the candidate his microphone is off. Now I want to give you a sense of what it will look like for viewers at home if a candidate whose microphone is off interrupts a candidate whose microphone is on. So I'm standing at one podium, and I'll ask Phil to come in and take the other podium. And so let's say I'm answering a question. My light is green, and I'm speaking. Phil's microphone is off, and his green lights are not illuminated. He's going to interrupt me as I'm speaking, and this is what it will sound like. My volume remains constant, while Phil's interruption can be difficult to understand.
Let's try the opposite. My microphone is now on. Victor's microphone is off, and he's going to interrupt me. My volume remains constant, while Victor's interruption can be difficult to understand. Now, CNN's production team has shared this demonstration with the campaigns earlier today, and we're sharing it with you, our viewers, so everyone fully understands how tomorrow night will work. Now, we should note, by agreeing to participate in this debate, both campaigns and candidates have also agreed to abide by these rules. The CNN presidential debate airs live tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
That's it. If my microphone right now is not working, this test I'm doing, then I look exactly like they look when their microphone is off. The mouth is just moving, and you can't hear anything. And what I expect that, well, I don't know that we'll see this. What I believe they hope we will see is Trump not being able to contain himself and trying to interrupt just instinctually because they're like 8 feet apart. I mean, you know, you could almost just reach over and grab each other at that distance. They talked about how, wow, that's such a close distance, almost breaking the COVID 6 feet zone there. But I think that maybe they are hoping that they will be able to do that split screen where maybe when Biden's talking, trying to provoke Trump trying to respond and defend himself, like maybe not the January 6th thing, maybe the Charlottesville thing. And Trump trying to say, no, look at this Snopes article, which we're going to go through in a second, which isn't exactly what the headline indicates it is. But all we see is Trump very agitated and just his mouth is moving and he looks foolish. And I think that could possibly happen the other way around with Biden as well. I expect that Trump is going to be aware of this and not fall into that trap. They have tried the debate with Hillary. They set him up where they made it look like he was stalking her around the stage by having the camera framing and having the cameras follow him in a certain way. It was not true. If you watch the debate, it was obvious that he was trying to get away from the camera, and the camera would not stop the camera people from framing him in a way where it looked like he was stalking her. It was crazy. I expect that he's going to be prepared for that, but there's going to be a lot of provocation. What will happen if there are moments like this? If Biden does it, if Trump is talking and Biden is he's mouthing something, but his mic is off and vice versa. What we will see, especially in the case of Trump, is we will see the media bring in the lip readers. They're going to bring in the lip readers. We have a lip reader specialist here. Going to interpret for us what Trump was saying while his mic was muted as he tried to interrupt Joe Biden. And then they'll just make a bunch of stuff up. And then we will have no audio to actually disprove that they're lying. So it would be like the Charlottesville good people, and he called the neo-Nazis good people thing, if there was no audio and no transcript. And we're saying, no, he didn't say that. And they're like, no, he said that. We read his lips. This brings a whole new angle of lying about what happened into the fold when you can just zoom in on somebody and they're bring in the lip readers, the specialist. So that's going to be interesting. Anyway, I'm looking forward to see the spin they do on that afterwards. That's part of the fun there. What's up, Steve? Steve, can you hear me? I'm testing a new microphone setup and all for tomorrow night. I want to make sure it works. Not tomorrow night, later tonight, to make sure it works. And I don't even know if it's working at all right now. I think it is. Yeah, hopefully it is. But yeah, part of the fun is the ridiculousness that ensues afterwards in the coverage of it, because that's where they make their money right there. It's not necessarily they make the money in the advertising, dollars and all that during the actual debate, but it's that content that they can get from the debate and chop it up and spin it in a way that it can't be debunked. Oh, good. Thank you, Steve. So it is working. I'm glad. But that's just like, it's almost clever, almost impressive, where let's cut off the mics, let's set them up to say a bunch of stuff, and then we'll bring in the lip readers and say, Trump said the N-word. They can just say anything, because it's not always easy to tell what someone says when their mouth is moving and you can't hear what they're saying. So we'll see what happens. Oh, thank you. You'll clap when I'm done. Great. That's good. Awesome. I hope this works, because might try something fun tomorrow. So if this works, this is helpful. All right. So let's look at that Snopes article, because you guys probably recall that Biden ran originally in 2016, or not 2016, in 2020. The whole reason he ran for president is because, as the story goes, according to him, he was in his house in Delaware sitting on the couch with Jill, and he saw Trump go up on television, and he saw with his own eyes and heard with his own ears the president at the time call the Nazis in Charlottesville good people, which obviously that never happened. Yet that's what Biden ran on. And he's also said that that's part of the reason he's running for re-election again, is because the fact that Trump said that thing that he never said is such a threat to our democracy that Joe Biden is the only one who can stop it. Just a lie that his entire campaign was built on, and he's reiterated for 4 years, could come up tomorrow in the debate. If I were Biden, I would say it I would talk about that when I knew Trump's microphone was muted, because that's going to be something that would easily provoke him because of the Snopes article. Maybe that's part of the trap here. You throw Trump a bone with the Snopes article, not necessarily, but with a headline. So you could say, no, they debunked it. Everything you said was a lie, Joe, knowing that his mic's going to be muted and knowing that Jake Tapper and Dana Bash will never let him actually talk about that while his mic is on. I mean, that's pretty funny when you think about it. The way you can manipulate this whole thing with this microphone thing they're doing is interesting. And the provocations we know are coming. But let's look at what this Snopes debunking, not debunking, but fact check 7 years too late about the Charlottesville, or what Trump said about the neo-Nazis. I'm just gonna go through the whole thing. I was surprised. This is the first time I've looked at a Snopes headline and gone, oh my, that's weird. That's actually the true thing. Unless it's about, they get fact checks correct when it's about something that's not political. Those they usually are correct. You know, did so and so run into Bigfoot? You know, in an whatever. They get those right. That's where they get their wins. But then they lie about all of these. So this was a little bit surprising. But here, let me find this here. All right, so I'm gonna move my screen around so I can see any comments you guys have. I'm still working with this new setup here. All right. There we go. Here's the headline from Snopes about the very fine people thing. It's a little late, but no, Trump did not call neo-Nazis and white supremacists very fine people. Trump's remarks about the deadly Charlottesville Unite the Right rally in 2017 remain controversial. That is a correct headline. He did not say that. Now let's go into the article. Every time I see something like this on Snopes, it makes me go, what's the catch? What's the catch, Snopes? That's why you got to read a little further into the article, because the headlines there, there's always a little more to it with Snopes. Claim. On August 15, 2017, then President Donald Trump called neo-Nazis and white supremacists who attended the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, very fine people. Rating. False. Fact check false from Snopes. So far, so good, right? Context. In a news conference after the rally protesting the planned removal of a Confederate statue, Trump did say there were very fine people on both sides, referring to the protesters and the counter-protesters. He said in the same sentence he wasn't talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, who he said should be condemned totally. Great. So far, yeah. More power to you so far, Snopes. But the next part is where it gets tricky. So you tell a true thing, and then that's it, right? No, not for Snopes. Snopes inserts an editor's note. An editor's note. They just said the truth, but the editor has a note about this factual truth that they just told. And here's what the editor had to say. Some readers have raised the objection to this fact check. I have raised the objection that this fact check appears to assume Trump was correct in stating that there were very fine people on both sides of the Charlottesville incident. This is not the case. It's not. They're not assuming that, huh? This fact check aimed to confirm what Trump actually said, not whether what he said was true or false. For the record, the editor says, virtually every source that covered the Unite the Right debacle concluded that it was conceived of, led by, and attended by white supremacists, and therefore Trump's characterization of it was wrong. They can't just tell the truth. They can't just tell the truth without lying. They had to give their readers something that enabled them to continue to believe that even if Trump didn't technically say the neo-Nazis were fine people, he meant it. That's what he meant. He didn't say it exactly, but he actually meant it. I mean, that's the implication here. And that's all people who see it that way. This is all they need to satisfy the confirmation bias. Up to that point, there was going to be some cognitive dissonance and confusion among people who have believed that for 7 years. But that right there, makes them immune from the truth that he didn't actually say that, because he meant it. They know what he meant. They can mind read. And just this whole editor's note, it's just extraordinary to me. It shouldn't be, because these people they're paid liars. But look at their justification here. They say virtually every source. This is the same thing where all of the stuff, the crazy stuff that they make up comes from. It comes from an anonymous source. Virtually every source that covered the Unite the Right debacle concluded that, that it was nothing but neo-Nazi. None of that is true. Virtually every source did not conclude what they say that they concluded. There was many sources that described it accurately, that there were people there to protest removing the statue because of historical value. They didn't want the history erased, and you erase this history, what's next? They felt like some of them, this isn't me saying this, they've been interviewed, many of them, many, many times in the past 7 years. They felt like if you just get rid of that, you're going to forget about it. You have to have it there as a reminder. I mean, there were people who didn't like Trump who were there protesting to have to keep the statue. But no, they would rather. So to them, they're not assuming that Trump was right. What they're assuming is that every single person at that rally was a Nazi. That is more plausible, that every single person who attended that rally was a Nazi. And that is supported by the fact that virtually every source that covered this debacle concluded this. For these sources to have concluded that everyone who was there and who put it together was a frickin' Nazi, they would have had to have identified every single person at that rally. They would have had to investigate the background of every single person at that rally, track them down, talk to them, get inside their head, read their minds, find out their motivation if they don't tell them explicitly when they interview them. They didn't do that. None of them did that. Virtually every sources that they're talking about that concluded that this was nothing but Nazis there and white nationalists or whatever, that's what they always conclude. The mainstream media always concludes that when it has to do with Trump or someone who they call far right. They always say it's racism because identity politics is how they make their money. And Snopes, yeah, he didn't say that, but we know what that racist Nazi meant. Almost was going to get a good job for you, Snopes, until that. But let's continue to go through this here. It says, in the spring of 2024, social media posts resurfaced, raising questions about the infamous comment from former U.S. President Trump related to the violence in Charlottesville over the removal of the Confederate statue. Now, what they're talking about was this post from, I don't know who this guy is, but there's a guy on Twitter named Sean McGuire who says, remember when Trump called neo-Nazis very fine people? He says, I only saw the full clip for the first time today. This guy posted this a couple weeks ago, I think. He says it's a must watch. He literally condemns the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists. So that guy has a pretty big account. And I think he might have even said he was going to donate to Trump or something. And I don't know if that's what sparked this, but that is what they cite in their article there. And then it goes on to say, on August 11th and 12th, 2017, the so-called Unite the Right rally protesting the planned removal of a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee from a park. It turned violent when the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists and others linked to these far-right groups clashed with counter-protesters. Counter-protesters, not Antifa. Counter-protesters. One self-identified white supremacist rammed his car into the crowd of people, killing one and injuring 19. And that person was an idiot. Okay, that person was an idiot. That person got baited by feds into killing someone and ruining the rest of his life and the lives of the family members of that person he killed. Richard Spencer and Jason Kessler, both white nationalists, planned the rally, and David Duke, a former leader of the Ku Klux Klan, attended. This is another way that they lie in this fact check. It is they pretend that what people know now, that everybody who went to that rally knew then. But most people who went to that rally had no idea who Richard Spencer was or Jason Kessler. But they act like the only people who attended this rally saw a flyer with their favorite Nazis on it and went, I can't miss this rally. All my favorite Nazis are going to be speaking. I better get my Klan hood and head on down to Charlottesville, grab me a tiki torch and some matches, baby. I mean, that's so stupid. I had never heard of Richard Spencer or Jason Kessler at that time. People see flyers. I mean, this is how you rope people into stuff. It is based on a premise that they think is perfectly fine. They shouldn't remove that statue as a premise. Preserve the history of it. But then you have somebody like David Duke. So what if David Duke goes to Walmart tomorrow? If I go to Walmart at the same time David Duke goes to Walmart, am I guilty of shopping with a racist? Like they do this thing where it's like you have these people who are extreme, or they're considered extreme in the media, and they can do anything they want, and the media will associate it with someone they don't like. And David Duke knows this. You don't think David Duke doesn't know that if he praises Trump or praises somebody else, the media is going to be all over it? Of course, this is going to get him attention. And the media happily plays into this. They're all grifters, and they're all, lies on top of lies, Steve. You're exactly right. Steve says this is about to be the best version of Biden. Biden, better than he has ever been. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be stupid. But it doesn't, Biden could literally fall asleep and they would tell us that he was deeply thinking, and Trump was saying things to Biden that we couldn't hear because his mic was muted that were so deeply offensive that it caused Biden to go comatose while he was standing there. It's just, they have so much control over the spin of things with that mic mute thing. Because it's not, like I said, not just about silencing Trump. It's about interpreting everything he does while he's silenced without us being able to disprove any of it because we don't have the audio or the transcript. It just dawned on me earlier today that's a major part of this whole little silencing the microphone thing. All right, so then it goes on to say in the article, I hate Snopes. Liberal friends of mine will bring up Snopes, and I'm just like, God, why? Like, why? Like, Snopes they're so bad. It's just, and I can't say, oh, they're funded by George Soros, because they'll just say, oh, well, you probably thought there were nice people, nice neo-Nazis on both sides. I'm just like, they lie about everything, and it's obvious. They don't even try anymore because they know how gullible or how easy it is to satisfy the confirmation bias of their viewers. It says in the August 15th news conference, then President Trump was asked to comment on the event, and famously he said that there were very fine people on both sides. This response received widespread backlash, and many claimed that Trump had put neo-Nazis and counter-protesters on the same moral plane. Specifically, critics claimed he called the neo-Nazis and white supremacists at the rally very fine people, a claim that spread like wildfire. This is true. With then President candidate Joe Biden making Trump's comments on Charlottesville a cornerstone of his campaign. He made it a cornerstone of his campaign when he announced he was running, not after he was a candidate. It was when he announced he was running is when he made it a cornerstone. Yeah, and Biden wasn't even a candidate yet in 2017 when this happened. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, blah, 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 Schumer. I don't know if anybody takes Chuck Schumer seriously. Trump supporters have consistently claimed that he actually condemned the neo-Nazis and white supremacists at the rally. Correctly claimed. And they show a tweet. And then it says, Snopes, we looked into these claims. It's about time you looked into the claims, Snopes. It's about time. And they found that while Trump did say there were very fine people on both sides, meaning both the protesters and the counter-protesters, yeah, no shit. He also condemned neo-Nazis and white nationalists outright and said he was specifically referring to those who were there only to participate in the statue protest. We found the original clip on C-SPAN and transcribed the relevant section below. You know, they didn't have to even go to C-SPAN to find it, because people in the alternative media like myself and others have been sharing this clip for years since this happened, and the transcript for years since this happened. And Snopes acts like they did all this work. We did all this investigative work. Blah, blah, blah. You didn't do shit, Snopes. There's the transcript. I love this part of it. They're so... Despite Trump's explicit condemnation of neo-Nazis and white nationalists, the majority of far-right leaders and groups received the speech positively. That's propaganda, okay? What does that have to do with how Trump feels, or what Trump says, or what anybody says? How somebody reacts to what you say gets to determine what you mean? I could say, hey, I like Hershey's chocolate bars. And David Duke could say, great job on telling the truth about Hershey's chocolate bars, wink, wink. And CNN would be like, well, he did only say, he didn't say he didn't like minorities, but he said he liked Hershey's chocolate bars, which David Duke praised him for his boldness in telling the truth. So we know what he really meant with that dog whistle. I mean, this is so stupid. And all of us know that. People listening to this show know that. But people, like just people in general, would recognize this kind of bullshit in any other context. In any other context in everyday life. If your boss was doing this to you at work, people would recognize it. Liberals, progressives, they would recognize this. But when it comes to politics, they're so blinded by tribal warfare and division that they just accept it. They don't want to think about the possibility that maybe everything they've based their life on the past few years and their beliefs is complete bullshit. And so they just need a bone. Here's a bone. David Duke said what he said was great, which I don't think he said that. He said, thank you, President Trump, for your honesty and courage to tell the truth about Charlottesville and to condemn the leftist terrorist. You know, the David Duke quote here, that's a little bit of a manipulation too, the way they did that. The David Duke quote here is not referencing that Trump said anything good about Nazis, which is what they kind of like set it up as. It's him saying you called out Antifa. Like you can not like Antifa and also not be a racist. Those two things are compatible. You know, you can hold both of those views. It's not like you either have to love Antifa members who love to firebomb police stations in Portland. They also get provocatored, by the way. All Black Lives Matter, Antifa, protesters, you know, Nazis, all of them have feds provocatoring people. But that doesn't mean that if you dislike Antifa, that you're a Nazi. It's so binary, everything that they do. Where were we here? Yeah, so they refer to Duke as a former KKK Grand Wizard, which is funny to me because I can't remember the guy's name who used to be in Congress that was like Bill Clinton and Biden's mentor, who was literally a member of the Ku Klux Klan, and he had started Klan, like the guy was supported by the Klan. He started a Klan, you know, branch in Arkansas or somewhere. They don't ever mention that guy. But yeah, we'll bring a tweet that David Duke made and pretend that has something to do with what the true meaning of what Trump said was. They're mind readers, and the way they can read these minds is by just scrolling through Twitter. On August 12th, 2017, prior to the news conference in which he finally condemned the white supremacists outright. I thought they throw that word in there, outright, because he did. They say Trump posted on X vaguely addressing the violence unfolding in Charlottesville. He said, we all must be united and condemn all that hate stands for, he wrote. There is no place for this kind of violence in America. Let's come together as one. What an awful, evil, racist thing to say. He then made a statement from his golf course in New Jersey that began, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. These statements received widespread backlash for failing to address the presence of Nazis and white supremacists explicitly. You condemn you condemn just the BS because lies are obviously being told about an event. You want to get all of the information, and you look at the event and you say, all of the violence is bad. I want none of the violence. But that's not okay. You're not allowed to gather the facts and find out what really happened. If you don't immediately agree that it was what the media says it was, then you're a Nazi. You're a Nazi, and you love David Duke. Finally, says we previously fact-checked the claim that Trump refused to explicitly condemn white supremacists during the 2020 presidential debate, which that's a pretty funny fact-check, too. And they say in sum, while Trump did say that there were very fine people on both sides, he also specifically noted that he was not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists, so therefore it's false. This is probably going to come up during the debate. And I think if Trump brings it up, they'll try and shut it down. If Biden brings it up, they'll make sure Trump's mic is muted, and they'll get all them lip reading. That turd Joe Scarborough, says Steve, said it on TV just a couple months ago. So it must be, yeah, right. No, they continue to say it. Like, people continue to say the Trump, the fine people thing. It's just ingrained in people now. And nobody stops them, right? Nobody even says, wait a minute. Nobody stops them. It's wild. All right, get rid of that one. So was that the right? Yeah. The other fact check that they referred to, they said, Snopes said, this was a 2020 fact check. Did Trump refuse to condemn white supremacists during the 2020 debate? And they said that the claim is during the 2020 debate, Trump refused to condemn the white supremacists, and they found that it was a mixture of truth and lies. They said what's true is that during the debate, Trump was repeatedly asked and invited to explicitly and clearly condemn white supremacists, and he did not do that. Even though he had been condemning them for 3 years. He had condemned them on video over and over and over and over again. How much condemning must be done? This is a control tactic. Early morning, yes, that's right, Denver. Over and again. But then they got a fact check. He did not necessarily. Then they say what's false in this fact check is, however, Trump did not say in so many words that he was unwilling to condemn white supremacists or would not do so, and in fact said, sure, I'm willing to do that. So actually, yes, he did say he was willing to do that. Sometimes it's just like, you guys, it's just like you look at an organization, you go, you guys just sold your soul to the devil and took whatever funding from whatever organization to just be a propaganda mouthpiece for the government. And some of them have children, and maybe they'll say, well, I'm trying to raise my kids and feed them. Well, do you tell your kids, you want to survive in this world, you need to suck the government's cock and screw over people who tell the truth? Is that the message? That's what these people do. Snopes was started in a garage. Everything was started in a garage. All this progressive bullshit. Bill Gates, was it the same garage that Bill Gates was in? All right, so let's go on to the Jake Tapper thing, which I think it's a good time to remind people a little bit about Jake Tapper. And Trump should bring this up. He probably doesn't even know this, but let me share my screen. You guys probably or maybe, I don't know, maybe you don't remember, or maybe you didn't see it, but Jake Tapper was at the forefront of the reporting on Russiagate and, the P dossier. I still remember the urgent breaking news that him and a few other anchors, they were, I don't even remember, they were sitting outside at some event and they were like, we just have this breaking news on this reporting we've all been working on together. And it was the Russia dossier thing. It was the introduction of that. Jake Tapper won an award for that, for reporting on the P dossier. And I'm going to show you what he won and what Jake Tapper is credited with putting in to our lexicon. Where's the screen thing there? This is the award he won. It was at 25. He won a bunch of awards, actually. He won multiple awards for his reporting on. I think he might have won a Pulitzer for it. So on screen here, you see the Merriman Smith Award. I think this is from like the press correspondence organization or something. But it says the Merriman Smith Award for broadcast goes to Evan Perez, Jim Scavuto, I don't know how to say his last name, Jake Tapper, and Carl Bernstein of Carl Watergate Bernstein of CNN. So they won this award. Why did they win this award? These four journalists and a number of other CNN reporters broke the story that the intelligence community had briefed President Barack Obama and then President-elect Donald Trump that Russia had compromising information about Trump. The CNN team, Jake Tapper's team, later reported that then FBI Director James Comey personally briefed Trump about the dossier. And then it says, thanks to the CNN investigation, this CNN investigation, and then it has in quotes, the dossier is now part of the lexicon. Jake Tapper, and he got $2,500 for this award. Jake Tapper and those three others are credited officially with putting the dossier into our lexicon. The P dossier. The I don't like this mattress that Obama slept on. Bring me some hookers and let me see him piss on it dossier. The one that was funded by multiple, I think Republicans and Democrats both funded this thing. This had no evidence behind it. Jake Tapper is behind that, and he's moderating the debate. He gives they talk about Jake Tapper. Don't talk about my friend Jake Tapper. He's a credible reporter. Blah 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 blah. And he's it's just crazy. I mean, that's stolen money, is what that is. I hope that we see some pantomiming. By the way, maybe Trump and Biden are like, my mic's gonna be shut off. How am I gonna show that I am not pleased with what the other candidate is saying? I would like to see some pretending to give a little hawk tua. Oh, hawk tua on that bullshit he's saying right there. Like, I don't know. I think there's got to be a little creativity in the way you express your displeasure. It'd be like super great if one of them came out and knew sign language. If Trump came out and every time he didn't like what Biden was saying, he's just doing like sign language that you could actually interpret. The lip reading is going to be up in the air. But if one of them is a master at sign language, well, that's something that we can fact check there. That would be so hilarious. They're going to turn my mic off. Somebody needs to teach me sign language right now. Yeah, Jake Tapper's a dipshit. Jake Tapper is there to create drama. That's part of the whole thing. It's part of the marketing of it. Tapper actually interviewed Trump in 2015. I remember it because Trump bulldozed him. It was hilarious. All right, let's get that there. I think I can do one more and then we'll get out of here. You guys might have seen this story. Is men are now raw dogging it on flights. Raw dogging it on flights. You guys ever raw dogged it on a flight? Let me put this up on the screen. It's just an interesting term because, you know, raw dogging is already a thing that people associate with something, with unprotected sex. Why are we going to take a term that everybody associates with unprotected sex and let's now redefine it as something people do on airplanes and not the Mile High Club raw dogging? This is a different kind of raw dogging. Hold on. There it is. You guys see that? Oh, there it is. All right. Here's the new raw dogging, apparently. Men are raw dogging on flights. Here's what that weird travel trend means. You hear that and you think people are just banging the daylights out of each other like it's Woodstock up there. Getting sexually transmitted diseases and getting strangers pregnant, but that's apparently not what it is. Some men like hitting it raw, says the New York Post. The friendly skies, that is. Raw dogging has become the buzziest travel trend of the summer, seeing stealth plane passengers forego modern comforts of flying to stare at either the in-flight map or nothing at all during lengthy trips. No music, no streaming, no snacking, no sleep. No sleep? They can't even sleep if they want to raw dog it? It just seems like a weird word for those activities. I have never seen so many people raw dog in a flight in my life, wrote Michelle, a stunned New York-based beauty influencer, in a closed caption of a TikTok clip, literally just staring straight ahead the entire time, she added. And then she showed people in the videos. This was a 5-hour flight from New York to San Francisco. This is almost like it's not demonizing, but kind of veering that way towards demonizing people who aren't addicted to their screens. Can you believe that person is not distracted and consumed by their phone? That's a raw dogger right there. You can stay away from that person. The anti-indulgence phenomenon has been loosely credited to Idris Elba's character on the Apple series Hijack. Oh, it's a little marketing. I've actually watched that show, Hijacked, and worst ending you're ever going to see in your life. Great job creating cliffhangers at the end of each episode. This is a show they wrote like 8 episodes, and all they focused on writing was the cliffhanger at the end of each episode, because mostly it's terrible except for the cliffhangers, and then there's literally no payoff at the end of it. So one of the worst shows I've ever seen in my life. But the reason that he was raw dogging it is because he's on a plane with terrorists who took his phones away. Nobody could be on their phones, kind of had to raw dog it. And they describe the series. Unlike other skyway hacks that put freaked out flyers at ease, such as going over the Alpha Bridge. What is that? A sleeping trick that helps the nervous knock out while 3,000 feet in air. Don't they just take drugs for that? Raw dogging is all about pushing oneself to their mental and physical limits. How are you pushing yourself to your physical limits just by not being distracted by shit? Pushing yourself to your physical limits is like running a marathon. That's pushing yourself to your physical limits. Like working out intensely, trying to get a new max. That's pushing yourself to your physical limits. Not just simply sitting your phone down for 5 hours. That's not pushing yourself to your physical limits. Denver says raw dogging sounds lame AF. Well, the term certainly does. And he says, I've taken 2 round trip flights in the last couple of months. Very, very cheap, $200. Really? I wonder if that is it cheaper because of the news that makes people afraid to fly? I wonder if that's part of that. I don't ever fly. I drive a lot. I don't like flying. So I'm not, I don't know what a good price is, but that seems like it's pretty cheap to me, $200. All right. Yeah, did Amazon and Bezos start in a garage too? That's funny. They all started in a fucking garage. All right, it goes on to say, the power of the mind knows no bounds. I don't know that that's the power of the mind either. You know, I don't think that monks that are in monasteries or wherever they are, I don't think they're like, all right, day one on becoming a monk, monking 101, everybody get onto this airplane and we're all going to raw dog it from New York to California. Can we do this? And they're like, oh my God, are you serious? The whole way you're going to push me to my physical limits like that on day one? He's like, I'm going to be a dictator on day one of this class. Online, some raw dogging flyers claim traveling without distraction strengthens our mind. So this to me is a bit of a contradiction here. It's online, the raw doggers are claiming. So if they're raw dogging it, how are they online? Who took the picture of them? This is a picture of a guy that says just raw dogged a 7-hour flight. New personal best. This is not a personal best. Go run a mile in 30 seconds faster than you've ever ran a mile. That's a personal best. Go bench press more than you've ever bench pressed. That's a personal best. Not sitting on a plane and staring for that's called time to reflect. That's actually valuable. That's what we should be doing every day, is sitting quietly and reflecting on things, which is exactly what they don't want people to do. So maybe raw dogging is a good thing people should be doing. I don't think people should be bragging about sitting on a plane and not getting on their phone. That makes you a douche, in my opinion. Men and women are challenging themselves to bypass any refreshments, or so no refreshments. They can't even have water. No, just raw dogged a flight. Just raw dogged a 15-hour flight to LA. No music, no movies, just flight map. New personal record. Great job, dude. Great job. But somebody took a photo of him. Who took a photo of him? You clearly didn't raw dog it. This is so stupid. It is dumb. It is interesting, though, that it wouldn't surprise me if they started kind of demonizing people who aren't addicted to their phones. It's already just a byproduct of the smartphones is you can't, if you don't reply to a text in 10 minutes, people are like, what's going on? They think it's, they think that you're like ignoring them or you're mad, or which is not the case for me. I go outside for like I try to go outside for a few hours a day, or I go play basketball. I want to get away from my phone. I hate it when I feel that pull of my phone always being there. Just always being there, because it's an obligation that takes focus away from anything else that you're doing. When you work, if you're responding to text or whatever, or checking email every 5 minutes, then you're not really working. They've done these studies, and studies or whatever, you take them for whatever they are, but this one I can relate to, and some of you guys might be able to as well. If you check so you're focused, you're like locked into something and you're rolling, and then you hear a ding or you check your email and you break that focus. It takes people, the brain, typically 10 to 15 minutes or so, if they are distraction free, to regain that level of focus they had before they got distracted, or before they checked their text or checked their email, or just replied to every freaking notification. I mean, we're constantly like just looking around, like notification after notification. They're pulling us every which way. It's like people aren't in control of themselves because they're being controlled by the notifications dinging up on their inbox and on their phones all the time. And that pressure's added because other people have an interpretation of not being replied to at certain times that makes them feel like there's a problem. Is that a problem? I mean, we used to just call people and yeah, I'll call you back later and you check the message. You go to their house, whatever. You call them back after work. If you're checking that thing every 10 minutes, then you're actually not really getting any work done. You're being completely controlled, like it's taking away from productivity. And it's, to me, it's very liberating. It was for me when I broke my first smartphone ever after I'd had it for, I can't remember how long I'd had it, but I didn't have a phone at all for like 3 days. And at first I was like, you're nervous because you're worried. Oh my gosh, you don't want people to be mad at you. You don't want to miss anything. But after that initial nerve-wracking few hours, it was like the most liberating thing ever. You know, you see the world again because you see what other people are doing. I mean, just go walk around one afternoon, especially if you're in a busy city or just a town square or something, without your phone and just people watch, or go sit somewhere where there's a lot of activity and just watch them and just watch how often people look down. It's crazy. It's like an extension of ourselves now. And, you know, I'm pro raw dogging it. Let's all raw dog it, baby. See a couple comments here. Denver, yeah. Bezos. All right, I'll check over here. All right, I think that's all I got. I'm glad the mic worked. You guys tune in tomorrow night. The debate starts at 9 Eastern Standard Time, which that's kind of late for the two old guys, right? Shouldn't the debate be at like 4 in the afternoon for them? That's why they're doing all this stuff. That's what it's kind of like they're making Joe and Trump raw dog it at the debate. You can only have one bottle of water. We got 2 advertising breaks. None of your people can come talk to you. You got to stand there in isolation. You can't bring any notes with you. We give you a pen and a pad. Let's take every crutch away just so afterwards they can say, you see, Joe's very sharp. He didn't have a teleprompter or a piece of paper. He was raw dogging it up there. You know, just like he did with Ashley Biden in the shower those so many years ago, allegedly. I really hope that comes up. Of course, Trump's microphone will be muted. I just want to hear someone ask Joe. He doesn't even have to be disrespectful. He doesn't have to be mean. That's a lot of the talk about it was like Trump was too mean about Hunter during that first 2020 debate. It made Joe was able to say, I love my son. And it was, you know, people were empathetic towards that. He has an addiction problem. A lot of people know people that have an addiction problem or they had one, so they can relate. But with the Ashley Biden diary thing, I don't think that's really going to make anybody feel bad for Joe. If you just said, hey, can you just clear something up for everybody? I want everybody to who's wrong about this to know that they're wrong about it. Joe, why was your daughter writing in her diary that you took showers with her that were probably inappropriate or possibly inappropriate in the context of a list that she was making about why she believes she was molested? Just clear that up for everybody, Joe. I know that it's nothing. I know there's nothing to it, but just tell the American people, help them understand what she meant by that. I would just love to hear somebody ask him that question, but it's never going to happen. Maybe it'll come up in another way. We'll see. All right, guys, let's go, Brandon. Hell yeah. We'll see you guys later tonight. Have a fantastic morning and fantastic rest of your day. Talk to y'all later.